I'm happy to take any questions if that makes sense. I'm happy to answer questions about my job or the job of U.S. senators, and get you a feel for what we do every day. Like I said, it's a little unusual right now, but these aren't typical days we're having right now. Yeah, please. Yeah, I am Chief of Staff, so I work for a U.S. Senator, and I am his director. So I'm the second boss to the main boss. And so we have a staff of about, we have his office staff of about 30, as well as he's a chairman of a committee, the Environment and Public Works Committee, so we have about another 30 there. So yes, so I oversee his staff. Yeah, please. Yeah, great question. John Barrasso is a Republican. Wyoming is typically a conservative state, so we elect mostly Republicans, but not exclusively. We've had Democrats that have served in Congress from our state, but John Barrasso is a Republican.
I think we had a question right up here.
Oh, yep,
lady,
sure.
And then we'll go to you.
Terrific. Yeah. Yeah, that's a great question. Well, they're long. They usually start very early in the morning with a few meetings. And then typically the mornings are spent in committee hearings. So a room like this, where senators will consider one or two bills in a smaller venue of members of that committee. So my boss recently had a hearing about highways and roads and bridges and how to repair them, how to pay for roads and bridges. So the members of that committee consider it. If they choose to, they can pass legislation out of that committee, and then, as I said, it goes to the full floor. Usually, typically in the afternoons then, is spent on the Senate floor, so business in the Senate takes place typically in the afternoons, and that can go late. So the days are long. It's spent a lot of time talking with the other U.S. senators from the other states and working to make progress on what they consider their own priorities. So my boss's priorities are, for example, fixing roads and bridges and other infrastructure around the country, so that's something he's discussing with a lot of his colleagues. Healthcare is a humongous issue in the country, so my boss spends a lot of time talking about healthcare with other members of the U.S. Senate. So it's a long day, but it's spent a lot of time either in a committee format like this or in the U.S. Senate floor. And then, of course, we have a lot of visitors from Wyoming. You wouldn't think you would from being that far away, but we do get a lot of people from Wyoming, and when they come, they want to speak to the senator and they talk about the issues that they care about. So we have some constituents that are in the office today that want to talk about farming policy. So they'll sit down with the senator and discuss the things they want to see happen. And it's a way for people at home, my home, to come and petition the government and say, this is what I think you should be doing. So that's a day. It's long, but rewarding too, and sometimes those nights can be late, but also very rewarding as well.
Let's sir, do you still have a question, young man? No? Okay, let's go. You with, no, wait, hang on. You with the flag, and then you, and then go ahead. Stand up, flag, you.
How old am I? That's a good question. I'm 50 years old, and I've been working in the Senate for, let's see, 8 years for Senator Barrasso, and previously I worked for another U.S. Senator from Wyoming as well for about 8, 9 years as well.
Senator
Yeah.
Ramsey?
No, Thomas. Senator Thomas, yeah.
Who had their hand up? Are you and the senator good friends?
Oh, yeah. Well, that's a great question. I believe we are, yeah. We spend a lot of time together. And hopefully he considers me a friend. I think he does. But we end up spending a lot of time together discussing issues and discussing staff decisions and scheduling decisions. So yeah, we almost have to be friends or it wouldn't work out very well. So yeah, he's a wonderful person to work for, so I enjoy working there.
Mr. Gunsman's got to get back to work, but we're going to ask him one more question.
Please.
Could you please tell the children what the light above the dome means when it's on and off?
Oh, yeah, I thought you were going to trick me with something
No,
much
no,
more.
not the big, no, not those lights.
Yes, so the light that you see on top of the Capitol, if you're in Washington at nighttime, you can see that light lit, and that light means that the U.S. Senate or the Congress is in session. So if you see that light on, you know that we're probably here, and members of the Congress are working. I had the opportunity a few years ago to travel to the top of the dome, and you get pretty close to that light, and it's a lot bigger than you think it is from the ground, and everything is a lot bigger up there than you think it was. And there's actually a gentleman who works for the architect of the Capitol, and he regularly travels to the top of the dome and then scales the last 20 feet or so and changes that light bulb. So much like a lighthouse, it indicates when the Congress is in session, and it's something that actually I've found fairly useful. I sometimes my window looks out on the Capitol, and I'll peek over there and make sure that they're either in or not in.
We have time for one more question.
Yep.
Young lady with the pink flower. Do you have a question? No? She did. Okay, good. One last question. Oh, the salary.
Oh, yeah.
okay.
Well, that's a good question. We have staff that run from our people that answer the phones, so our receptionists and staff assistants, all the way up to my position as chief of staff. So the salary range can be anywhere from $20,000 up until over $100,000. The Congress actually sets the salary levels, so a salary can only be so high, and that is how each Senate office is given a certain budget, and the senator is allowed to spend that money either on salaries or on office. And so we have a limited amount of money, so we have to use that money in the way we think is best for our state, either in staff or in offices or other work that we do.